Welcome back, everyone. Well, this week I've got another thought process video instead of another project video. So I'm waiting on some parts to do a couple more things on the bus, and I need to take it in for a VIN inspection, so I didn't want to tear too much apart in here, potentially risk disconnecting some lights or causing some things to be unstable. So anyway, let me show you what I have planned for the floor plan. Now this might change over the course of time, but as of right now I think I got a pretty good idea. So here we go. Alright, so you all have seen the bus from previous videos. Let's start up here in the front. Right down here is our entry door. I'm going to be taking this out and putting in more of an RV style door. I like the security screen that comes on the Wildlands door from Turnoverland is the company. So I might be using that one, we'll have to see. But anyway, definitely going to replace this with a more insulated option. Yes, I know that's not their most insulated option, but I can get some extra to put in there, and definitely better than all this glass. So, plan on replacing the door. Then, over here, we have the driver's seat. I'd like to put this on a swivel if I can, because up here in the front, I want to use wood stove and a couch and maybe another captain's chair, and see if I can create almost like a living room up here. So, it'd be nice to be able to swivel this around so I can use it as part of the living space when I'm not driving. So we'll see. Then down over here, right behind where the stairwell is, so far enough back that there's a place to set your feet, and I'm going to put in another captain's chair with some space off to the side over here for like desk space for electronics or cup holder, that kind of thing. And then over here, a small window, potentially a slider, we'll see. But anyway, I'm going to have a co-pilot one of these days, so I want to have some place for that person to sit. Over here, down here on the floor, you can see the ductwork from the primary heater. So up to this point over here, there we go, right there. At the end of the heater duct should be about the end of where I want the couch to go. So it's going to sit right in here along this space right in there. I'm going to take out the vast majority of this ductwork and potentially even the heater that it's attached to. So right down here, this guy is a gigantic heater. So I don't really need that, I don't think. I've got some other plans on how I'm going to heat this bus, and I'll show you those as I start to acquire the parts and put things together. But anyway, it's really taking up a lot of room over there. I do like the fact that I have hot water lines from the engine over there, at least I'm pretty sure I do. So that'll be nice when it comes to connecting to the hydronic system that I intend to use. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, put that on a swivel. Another captain's chair over here, also on a swivel. And then either a jackknife sofa or a futon running along that side over there. Now, I want to put a wood stove in this bus. And I wanted to center my seating around the wood stove. So you'll see up here right overhead is our front escape hatch. I'm going to be replacing that with a max air fan. So that should give me the ability to get some airflow through the bus. And I like putting it this close to the front because I can use it to draw air across the bed, which will be in the back. But anyway, right over here with an exit point right up through the roof is where I'm going to put the wood stove. So right down in here. It should sit probably about that high, if I had to guess, with the wood storage underneath it. And obviously it creates a nice center point for the seating area here. The one I intend to use is supposed to be really efficient, and it burns really well, so I don't have to worry about a lot of heat from the chimney. At least that's what I'm told. So I'm going to take a really close look at that and make sure I can do so safely. But it seems like using a double wall pipe going up through the roof, I should be able to put some upper cabinets in here as well. So we'll see how that all turns out as I get a little closer to actually putting some stuff in here. I can also put a TV off to the side if I choose to, or something out on the front of the cabinet faces out here. We'll see how that goes. I don't know just yet. So, the end of the hearth will probably be right about here, where this window edge is. Obviously, none of these windows are going to be in place. I do intend to put a large window right about here, so there will be a way to look out from the couch. I don't want to put a window right behind the stack as far as I can tell. But a lot of the space here, from right in front of where that fender is, right there, all the way up here to about this position where the wood stove is going to be, I'm not quite sure what I want to do with that space just yet. I might do some full height storage, I might do a working desk, I don't know just yet, we'll see. But across from that, I do have a pretty good idea. So I want to do an L-shaped kitchen. I've got an 80-gallon water tank, and I wanted to center it a little bit on the bus's overall dimensions. So right here, behind where the couch will be the horizontal or widthwise oriented counter space. Sitting underneath that will be the primary water tank sitting sideways. I want to do it that way so it centers the weight of the water more on the bus instead of having it running along one side like this. Yes, I could split up the tank, but I've already purchased it, so I want to make use of what I bought. And I could put the water tank underneath, but there too, my goal is to use this in some pretty cold climates, so I want to try to keep as many of my tanks inside the bus as possible, just to keep things from freezing. I know I can do some other things to compensate for that in the lower compartments, and I intend to do some of those, but keeping the fresh water in here is a good idea as far as I'm concerned. So, right across here, counter space. It'll end just to the right of the center walkway here. Obviously none of that will be in here. The water tank will be underneath the counter, and the cooktop will be sitting right here on top. It should be close enough to that MaxxAir fan that I can use that as a vent. I'm not planning on putting a secondary vent in over the top of the cooktop. It will be a 2-burner and a diesel, so it'll have an exhaust going out through the side of the bus over there or down through the floor. I'm not quite sure which. Over here, this is going to be primarily counter space. I'll have storage underneath, regular cabinets. I also need to find a place to put an electric oven, since I have one of those already. It's just a standard 13x9 capable countertop oven. So I might put it up here on top, right there in the corner, or I might put it down underneath. I'm not quite sure yet. We'll see. Then nice big window here so you can look out the side of the bus while you're cooking or doing food prep. Here over this fender, I want to put in the kitchen sink. So the sink is going to have its own dedicated gray tank sitting right on top of the fender underneath it. There will be another gray tank down in a storage compartment right underneath that portion of the floor. So my intent is to have 2 gray tanks inside the bus and a third one in the storage compartment. I'm going to connect the 2 that are up inside via a series of drains to allow me to dump into the bottom tank as things fill up in here. But again, I wanted the ability to have plenty of storage up inside the bus. Why do I have 3 tanks? Well, I was originally planning a different platform for this camper, and 3 tanks made more sense in that format. So again, I have them, I want to use them. I don't see any point in discarding things and purchasing more when I already have the parts I've got. So 1 gray tank under here for the kitchen sink, basically dedicated just for that. I'll put some overhead cabinetry in here as well. And let me turn around and show you what's going to go on the other fender. So over here, there will be another gray tank sitting on top of this fender. Now this one is going to be used for the shower, the dishwasher, and the washing machine. Yes, I just said that. So I purchased a couple of startups. One of them is a countertop dishwasher. It uses about 1 quart of water per cycle, and 1 cycle is about enough for 1 to 2 days worth of dishes for me. And if I ever have a family in here, it's still probably 1 day's worth of dishes for a family. Why do I want to put a dishwasher in my bus? Because I really want to maintain my water supply as much as possible, and I don't want to use up a lot of my gray space. So what I realized was, even if I hand wash the dishes, if I don't want to use a lot of paper towels, then I'm going to end up using more water to hand wash my dishes than that 1 quart that the dishwasher uses. So, dishwasher it is. That should be arriving here soon, I think maybe even by the end of this month. So as soon as it gets here, I'm going to try it out, see how it works, see if their claims are correct on its water usage. and get an idea of what I'm dealing with. But it's probably going to go somewhere over here, maybe just off to the side of this fender, and it'll be able to dump down into that gray tank. Sitting right underneath it, I'm planning on putting in the washer and dryer combination. So I know many of you who have looked into the RV world have seen washer-dryer combos for RVs. This one is supposed to be a little different. It uses a much higher spin velocity for both the washing and drying cycles, and it's supposed to be able to, by doing so, cut down the water usage and the power usage significantly from what you would normally see in a combined unit like that. Again, it's a startup. I've never actually seen it in function before, but we'll take a look at it when I get it and see if I like it. If it turns out not to work out in here, well, so be it. I'll find some other way. So, what's going to go on top of the holding tank down in here? Well, I wanted to use drawer-style refrigerators and freezers, one of each, and I wanted both of them to be capable of doing both refrigeration and freezer temperatures. So these are designed to go in boats. They're 12-volt electric only. They don't use propane or any other power source, so just powered off the batteries directly. And I like the idea of that because they don't take up a whole lot of space, yet somehow they have quite a bit of internal space available for them. So it's not like your typical RV fridge. It's going to be a big, tall, vertical item. I wanted to stay away from that if I could. So, 2 drawers, probably sitting side by side over the top of this fender down here. And then I might find a way to put in upper cabinets and storage all the way up in here. There's also enough room up there to do a wardrobe or storage for light things that can be held a little higher up on the bus. Plus I am planning to do a roof raise on this bus, so I'll have a little more vertical height here to work with as well. Back here behind the fender, this is where the shower is going to be. So you can see right down here, that's an indentation for the fuel filler for the primary tank. So I'm going to have to bring the shower pan out a little bit in order to clear it. That's perfectly fine. That gives me some space between the insulated outer wall and the wall of the shower that I can run plumbing up and down. So that should make things a little bit easier to work with. Also, I have a passive solar water heater panel. It's about 2 feet by 2 feet. And right above this spot is next to the rear hatch. So I've got some space on the roof where I might be able to put that in and bring its plumbing down that wall behind the shower. So we'll see how that goes. This is going to be a recirculating shower, but to try to save interior space, I'm planning on putting all the plumbing, the filters, the storage tank, and the pump all down in an underbody compartment that's already here, right about that position there. So obviously the water will drain out of the shower, down into the holding tank. It'll be pumped through a series of filters and UV purification, and back up into the bus for reuse. There will be a heat exchanger connected to my hydronic system, and I should be able to have a pretty long warm shower that way. My original plan was to go ahead and empty the shower after each use. So yeah, that doesn't make the recirculator as efficient as it could be, but we'll see. It kind of depends on how much soap I use and how I use the shower. I may do it, I may clean it out after every use or every couple of uses, because I figure I'll have 80 gallons of water, and if I'm conserving in every other place that I can, wasting 3 to 4 gallons for a shower every day or two is not a big deal. We'll see. Again, I'll play with that. I've got the majority of the components to actually put the shower together, so I'll set the plumbing up when it's a little warmer outside and it's not going to freeze on me, and see how things look and see how I like it. So I'll take you along on that one as we go as well. So shower over here. Directly across from it will be the toilet. So remember I said that I have to use the spaces on both sides of these exits as my point for anything that goes through the roof. Well, the toilet is going to be a propane incinerating toilet. So this heater down here is going away. All of the hookup and plumbing that's underneath all this is going away. I'll probably put in a smaller heater, something like a 4-vent hydronic out here. to give me the ability to use some of that hot water I've got to help warm the back of the bus. But I don't need this gigantic thing, that's for sure. So the reason I'm choosing an incinerating toilet is I don't want to deal with a black tank. Yes, I absolutely could use a composting toilet. I've looked at a lot of videos of these. I've never actually used one myself, so please take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But from my eyes, they've got a few disadvantages. One, I don't like the fact that they don't seem to tolerate liquids very well. You know, if you have to dump out a urine jug every couple of days, that doesn't seem terribly efficient to me. And yeah, a lot of the time I'll be out on public land. I could potentially dig a hole. You know, people pee in the woods all the time. But I may also be in places where that's really not a great plan. So I don't love that. The other thing I don't care for, what happens if you have diarrhea? Yes, I know I'm talking about diarrhea on a video. But if they don't handle liquid very well, then how's it going to handle that? I'm sure other people have done it and found ways, but I just don't care for it all that much. The other piece behind it, from what I could gather, it seems like they work better when you're using them regularly. I don't know that I'm going to be using this bus all that often, at least not to start. So I may camp for a weekend, I may camp for a week, but then it may be a couple of months before I go out again. And I don't love the idea of only using a toilet 2 or 3 times and trying to figure out if it'll compost properly with that small volume in it. So anyway, I don't love the composting toilet for my uses. So incinerating toilet it is. That means I need a roof exit for the flue. So I'm going to put it right up here. I'm going to try to stay as far forward as I can because that section right back there on top of the roof is going to be deck. So that's about 8 feet by 8 feet. I'm going to try to bring it all the way up to the back of this hatch, which will be swapped out for a deck hatch like you would see on a sailboat. So I might be able to access this by putting a ladder up top and just climbing up and out of here and getting onto the deck. I know this kind of a burner really shouldn't have a whole lot of flame or spark or anything like that coming out the top, and hopefully this flue will be tall enough that I don't have to worry about any random piece of toilet paper or something getting up to the top. But basically, I don't want to have a situation where even with a spark arrestor, something could pop out of that flue and end up on the deck. So no, I'm not planning on spending time on the deck when the toilet is burning. Not a great plan. But anyway, toilet right over here in its own enclosure. So, behind the toilet and behind the shower, so back in this space, that's where the bed's going to go, sitting sideways. Queen size bed. Why? There's plenty of room in this bus. Why not? So I'm going to put that in, and then behind it will be a wall, probably sitting right about in front of where that propane cylinder currently is. So that'll give me a little under 2 feet of space in the back of the bus that I can access through this rear door. I want that there because I've got some items I'd like to store inside the bus when I'm traveling. Whether that be things like camp chairs or tables. I've also got a paramotor that would travel much better inside the bus than it would strapped onto the back of it. And I've got an electric bike that I'd love to be able to put inside and charge while I'm driving. So the battery system is going to go under the bed down in here, really big battery bank, because I'm planning on being capable of recharging a couple of electric vehicles one at a time, of course, when I'm out on my trips. So if I've got that much capability for charging, why not recharge an electric bike in the back of the bus? So, space in the back. I might put some shelving on one side, places to hang stuff, things like that. We'll see how that turns out. But yeah, storage behind, plus that gives me an extra insulated wall between the bed and the back of the bus. So I am planning to do a full roof raise, front to rear. I'm not going to do the partial like I originally planned, mainly because I want to put solar on the top of every available space. So between this rear hatch and that front hatch up there by the air conditioning unit, I can fit 3 440 watt bifacial solar panels. Then, up in front, between the front of the bus, right up there, and the front of this hatch, I can fit 2 more. So that combination gives me the ability to have about 2200 watts of solar power on the roof. I then found a solar awning that I can put down this side. In fact, I could put two on the bus if I wanted to. Now each one has about 1.2 kilowatts or 1200 watts of power to add on to it. So that combination of solar should be pretty useful when it comes to recharging that big battery bank and potentially charging an electric vehicle. I'm going to do a much better video on the electrical system, and obviously I'll show you what it looks like as I put it in. I don't have most of those parts yet. But I'm not planning on doing a 220 system in this bus. I'm planning on just doing 120. Mainly, I just don't want to deal with the extra requirement, the split phase or two inverters, that kind of thing. I just don't want to deal with all that in here. So I know that when I'm recharging an electric vehicle, that means about a 24-hour charge time based on the battery bank size I have planned. But that's okay. Even if it means that I can only go out on a trip every other day and then come back and spend a day in the bus, well, so be it. That's fine with me. And who knows, technology will always improve, so I can definitely move things along as the batteries get better. So, let me turn this off. Well, that didn't work. There we go. I hope you all have enjoyed seeing what's planned for the floor in here, and obviously I'll keep you involved as I put things together and get some new things set up. Over the next couple of weeks, I've got some delete panels for the upper flashers. I need to get those installed, but right now it's just too cold to paint them. Again, I'm going to be driving the bus out later later in the week, so I don't want to cut big holes in it at this point. I'll do that a little bit later. Then I'm also going to be hooking up the diesel heater. The propane heater I'm using now is fine, but I'd really rather have another heating option for working in here, and then we'll start tearing the inside apart. Once I get to that point, then I'll be working toward the roof raise, which should be happening in a couple of months. So hopefully we'll have plenty of content coming up, and stay tuned for continuation on the bus. I'll see you over the next horizon.